to make sure that we go live on YouTube.
Okay.
Um, and so, Stephanie, just so you know, we're gonna still do the typical first question. You know, what's which an interesting answer.
Okay.
And honestly, we're just gonna keep this one super informal. You know, we're gonna let you just tell your
Okay.
story. We're definitely gonna let you talk about, the way your family, his family,
Whatever you want to
everybody's
talk about.
reacted. Yeah, honestly, it's gonna be a lot of you.
Okay. That's
So
fine. I'm good with that.
that's good, because that's basically I want you to have like anything that you want to share with people.
Yeah,
I want you to be able to share it. So let me see with my editor and make sure that we're on.
I can go on the YouTube too and see like in the comments.
Yeah, if you want, my love, in case
Let
someone
me
has
go.
questions. Okay, we're. Oh, that's because sorry, my mic sounds distant because I wasn't close.
Is
So
mine fine?
It's
Well,
okay.
I'll have to go.
all right, perfect. So I think we're good. Um,
I've
Live.
I've
Cool.
Okay, all the way down.
kind of.
No, that's you, my love. With the
Is it?
volume. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, perfect. All right, Stephanie, don't be startled. I'm gonna clap, and
Oh
it
my
always
gosh, she
scares the crap out of
freaking
Maura.
claps right in my ear every time.
Welcome to the Fat Fuel Family Podcast. I'm your host, Danny, and I'm joined by my entrepreneur wife,
Hi
Maura.
guys.
How are you, my love?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm super excited because I've done like two podcasts without you, and I felt like
I know
lonely
it can't be.
doing it without you, and it couldn't be a better one to have you back because I think we're gonna need all the emotional support we need
Support.
on this one for all of us here because this is a. Oh, hold on one second. It says that she's not recording. Okay, okay,
Oh, I see a
one
little
second. Okay, so what do?
Oh, because I have to go to Google Chrome.
Oh,
maybe. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Let me do that. Okay. Let me get out of here. Hold on.
Okay, so
Unsupported
we're
browser. Okay,
So
yeah.
I just
Go
hang
to
up.
Google Chrome.
yeah, just
Yeah.
hang up and we'll
Yeah.
start the whole thing
Yeah,
over.
it's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Oh crap, I forgot to tag you.
Hi,
Hey, buddy.
I'm here.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, dude. I don't. It's that I don't want to ask her for anything to go out of her way because she's just her life is crazy right now. But she got off, and we are gonna restart. Is there anything that from my
So
end?
no, so on under her, like in that side panel on the right, it showed which I can't switch cameras now because whatever. Okay, no big deal. Um, the under her name it said like in big red text unsupported browser and all of that, and so this would have been one of those situations where we once again only had like the really low quality streamed video
Uh,
feed. So yeah, she needs to be in Chrome. She need Chrome, and if she's on an iPhone or an iPad, she needs to be using the Riverside app.
No, she's on. I think she's on her
oh,
computer though.
well, you know what? I forgot about that, but it's okay. We'll for the
Yeah.
next one. I'll tell people to get the app. But honestly, dude, I don't even know if it's worth it. It's probably worth it to just tell them all have access to a computer.
Computer's better because we have more options for sure. But the application does work actually pretty well. I've done it pretty well. But yeah, we won't worry about the stream, that type of thing. Everybody's seeing this as it is. So
All
Fine.
good, all good.
only I say everybody, and I mean nobody because there's nobody else watching currently.
Oh, good, good, good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's you and I pretty much right now that are.
My love, I don't. You didn't tag me, so I'm gonna put it on my.
I did tag you. I just did it again.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Perfect, perfect. How's your day going, bro?
I was up until 4 o'clock in the morning editing the message or the Superhuman Life episode. I got to about 2 o'clock in the morning, thought I was done, and then noticed that a change I made about halfway through screwed up everything before that. And so I had to go through and recut the whole thing.
So did you sleep?
I ended up skipping the first half of my work shift and calling in sick for it and sleeping until about noon. So,
Good thing you got
Wow.
something, man. Good thing you got something.
yeah, it's, yeah. So I, yeah. This is why it's important to get me files ahead of time, and I need to do better at like sending them to my contractor and getting them back and all that type of stuff. So, because I shouldn't have had to cut it at all. But anyway,
No.
Your chance.
okay, Stephanie. Let's see here. I do show that you're recording now.
Okay, good, because it was making me like upload the new version of Google Chrome, and I haven't used a computer in 3 months. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Are can you get your headphones in again?
I don't have headphones with me right now. Is that okay?
Oh, okay. No. That's, as long as we have the echo cancellation turned on, it should be okay, which it is. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Hi, by the way, I'm Chris. I'm the producer.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Sorry, I'm
Um,
specifically challenged. I'm doing more of just like on top.
If not, just we wouldn't make it.
Dude, we're in the same boat. We just show up and hit
I'm
record.
like, Chris, help! I can't deal.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna leave you guys to it. You're
right.
streaming.
Thank you.
You're recording. So all is well.
All right, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
All right. Now we're good to go.
Okay, now we're good to go.
Okay, perfect. So, let's start this over.
Sure. Go
Right.
ahead.
Welcome to the Fat Fuel Family Podcast. I'm your host, and I'm joined by I'm going to use the same one, entrepreneur
let's
wife.
go.
How are you, my love?
I'm good. Busy.
Yeah, busy, but it's good to have her back because I did a few shows without her, and it's not the same without her. And we're gonna need that today because we're gonna talk about something serious. We have our friend Stephanie on to tell her story, and guys, this is just it's a crazy world that we live in right now. Stuff like or you get sick with something, but there's a whole other story on what happens after you get sick if you um,
Yeah, like on the patient advocate side.
yeah.
basically.
So we're gonna give Stephanie the floor today, and we're gonna let her tell her story. We were kind of following along pretty closely with this whole thing as it was happening, and we think you guys need to hear it. So, welcome, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me on. I'm a big fan of everything you guys do about spreading truth. So hopefully my story can enlighten people and serve as, a resource for someone that might be going through something similar. Hopefully not at this time. I never thought this type of COVID I'm not saying that this type of COVID caused death, but I never thought that my family would be the victim to the messed up protocols in the hospital right now. Everyone in my family got COVID, including me, and we were fine 3 days later. I think you guys maybe can relate. I'm not sure.
Same,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was just kind of common the way that it went about. For my husband, the story turns out to be a little bit different, and unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But I was diagnosed with COVID during a routine hospital visit. I went in for nausea, and then I was hospitalized because I couldn't keep anything down, which is actually routine for all my pregnancies. So I'd like to say that it's not like
Yeah.
I literally, with every pregnancy, I would drive myself to the ER on Fridays. My husband knew that I was at happy hour at the ER every Friday getting fluids. Like that was my place.
Getting your Zofran.
It was just where I would go to get fluids and Zofran if necessary, because it was too much for me to handle. Like those first 20 weeks of pregnancy are very rough for me. And my doctor said, let's get you into the hospital. Let's get you into some fluids and you'll be fine. When I was at the hospital, they tested me, of course. Mind you, I had been tested like 4 days before. I was negative. I was tested in the hospital. I was positive. And I was in and out of the hospital for about 2 weeks. During one of those visits, they tried to put me in a room. Mind you, I had no fever, no chills, no symptoms except diarrhea and nausea, which I already had. So they tried to put me in a room with another patient, which is what they're doing to a lot of people now because usually the hospitals are crowded and etc., which I think is very dangerous. Especially, your immune system is already in a in a very compromised state. So to put you in a room with another person who could be in a much worse situation and passing along bacteria and germs to you, you're both sharing a bathroom, which to me that's the most mind-boggling thing. Like, and they're not coming in to clean the bathroom after I peed, I peed, I pooped, I peed. And people with
Yeah.
COVID, most people, one of the symptoms is like explosive diarrhea. So these bathrooms are not very clean. So on my second trip to the hospital, they tried to put me in a room, and I like raised hell, ripped my IV out. I was like, that's not happening. Like, I'm pregnant. I cannot receive any treatment for this, even if you wanted to. So there's no way I'm going into a room with somebody with pneumonia when I don't even have a cough.
Right.
So thankfully they got me my own room, etc. When I come home a few days later, I still was feeling a little weak. I finally lost my sense of smell, but oh, sorry, my dog has diarrhea. Maybe she has COVID.
Oh my goodness.
Puedes cerrar la puerta, por favor, porque estoy en una llamada importante. Sorry, my house is a zoo right now with the kids, and I'm by myself.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
My dog gets diarrhea every time I'm home. I've been in Miami a lot. I'm in Sarasota now. Anyways, I think I give her anxiety.
Poor dog.
So anyway, so when I got home, my husband looked like he got hit by a train. I thought it's because he had been alone trying to work and do a million things, carry the weight of the house, which we always share, like you guys, like we're a team. And I was like, dude, you look like you're about to pass out. I'm like, you need to go to your mom's house for like 3 days and like go to sleep because you're not gonna be able to rest with the kids. I just got home, everybody's rowdy. I'll take care of them. So he's like, he got gotten tested 3 times while I was in the hospital. Every time was negative. PCR, all the tests, all the expensive ones, the cheap ones, the $200 ones at a private lab, the ones at the free lab. Like, he did all the tests, and they were all negative. Once he was at his mom's house, he decided to go to the urgent care because he's like, I really don't feel good. So at the urgent care, they're like, look, you're fine. You just have a stomach bug. So he went home. We were able to get him some, what is that called? Like a Z-Pack and everything. So he started taking that. Nothing really. He would call me. He's like, oh my God, is this how you felt? And I'm like, that's how I felt. The diarrhea is horrible. And he would be like, oh my God, this is terrible. And I'm like, just don't worry. Like, be strong. Like, it'll go away in a few days. Right. And I said, in worst case scenario, just go to the hospital and have them give you fluid like I did, because you're probably just dehydrated. That's why you feel bad. So he went to his mom's house, whatever. He was there, and then he went to the ER. They sent him home. So urgent care got sent home. ER got sent home. Like, I'm going to ER, and I'm not leaving because they told me the first time that I looked even though I'm negative.
Right.
So the next day he went back, and he's like, guys, you told me yesterday my lungs look bad, so I'm not leaving today. Like, take care of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Husband was there for 3 days before a doctor went to see him. 3 days. When the doctor finally went to see him, he said, if you don't start this dose of some steroid there and some clinical trial drug, you're going to end up in the ICU. So my husband called me freaking out, of course. And then, you're freaking out because at this point, I'll admit, I wasn't very educated on like what the protocols,
Right.
the early intervention protocols are for COVID, because I didn't know anybody that had to do any of those protocols. Like, everybody in my family got COVID, either took a Z-Pack or just went to sleep for 3 days and like woke up and they went back to their normal life. At this point, I didn't know anybody that used like ivermectin or monoclonal therapy or all the other things that we know are out there that when used early on can really protect you later on. So, at this point, you're just kind of at the hospital's protocol and kind of going through that. So he calls me, and I'm like the holistic one in the family. So he's like, babe, what do I do? And I'm like, look, I mean, I don't know, but it sounds like, yeah, you need the steroid. And at this point I would take it. Like, I'm not anti all medicine, right? Like,
right.
I'm holistic, but I'm not like, I don't think,
Yes,
if you need medicine, you need to take the medicine, medicine does save lives when used the right way. So I said to him, look, I think you should just take it. And that was like at 8 a.m. It was 6 o'clock in the afternoon. My husband still hadn't received his first dose. And this is because I went ape shit like a crazy
right.
calling the freaking doctor that was attending
Were they
to
understaffed, Stephanie?
Because
What do you think it was?
they also don't let you guys in, correct? They don't let the
They
family
don't
in.
let you in. Everything's locked down. It was funny because the protocol changed from one week to the other. Like, my husband was allowed to come see me when I was in the hospital, but then not once I was in
Mm.
the COVID unit. And then once he got in, nobody was allowed in the hospital, period, like for nothing.
Wow.
So even if you're there, like having a baby or going to get, I don't know, not a tooth taken out, but like an eye surgery or whatever, like nobody could come see you. So I come to find out later on in my research that COVID, and I don't, this is like research for me, Google research. So I'm not saying I read any like medical things. So don't quote me on this. But from what I saw and from what I've seen, like clinically, right, through people that have had COVID, it does attack an area of your brain that gives you like a lot of anxiety and
Yes,
paranoia.
that
And I
happened to
also
me.
think that's fed into the by the fear mongering that we've all had,
Of
like on the
course.
news. So like you're
Yes.
like, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. And
Right.
that's like the script that's playing in your head, right?
Yes.
So my husband will call me like shaking, crying, hyperventilating, and then I'm not
Yeah.
there, his support system to hold his hand and say, babe, it's gonna be fine. Like just breathe with me, breathe with me, breathe with me. So what are they doing? They're pumping him with sedatives. They're pumping
Yeah.
him with
Yeah.
sleeping pills.
And that affects your breathing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so that affects your breathing. And Xanax is a respiratory suppressant. So like they're putting you like loading you in with all of these things to chill you out, right? When the best thing to chill you out probably would have been like the person that you love saying, look, I had COVID 3 days ago. I'm not scared of getting it. Like my antibodies are higher than anybody in this
Exactly.
hospital, probably. Let me go hold my husband's hands. And if you're allowed to wear a hazmat suit, let me wear the hazmat suit and
I
hold my
know.
husband's
Especially
hand.
since you had just had COVID. It doesn't even make sense.
I
Like,
know, but whatever. If they want me to
yeah.
wear the
Yeah.
costume, wear the
Wear the
costume.
costume.
You know what I mean?
That's
And
awesome.
and and they don't. And that's devastating.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what I think killed my husband, that lack of human contact. And then, like we said, the
Yeah.
not knowing in the hospital. You call,
Yeah. And then
nobody
they
knows.
just leave him
You
alone.
call, nobody knows. Nobody knows. The doctors don't call you. The nurses give you like these weird updates. You never really know what's happening. And it wasn't until, so that was like on a, I don't know what day that was anymore. But then 3 days later, well, my husband was moved to the ICU. So what the doctor predicted was going to happen happened. Got moved to the ICU. And I, in a way, I was relieved. I know that sounds kind of kooky, but I was like, the level of care was so shitty in the COVID unit that I was
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, go to the ICU.
Maybe
You're
he'll
not
get,
doing
yeah, maybe
nurses
he'll get
around the
care.
Better
clock,
nurses, more attentive. Yeah.
more attention." Because listen, I was in the hospital and I was pregnant, and I was lucky if people came in there like twice a day. They drew my blood 3 times. I'm like, man, that's a third time they draw my blood for the same thing. They're like, no, it's not. I'm
Oh
like,
my
okay, well,
gosh.
I'm crazy now. They're like, no, COVID affects. Sometimes when you
Oh
get
my
COVID,
Oh
you
gosh,
my
bro,
I'm
the
like,
gaslighting.
gosh.
okay, look at the blood. You just drew it. Like
Oh
it
my
was the
goodness.
little things that were happening. I was without water, without food. One person would tell me to eat, the other one told me I wasn't allowed to eat. Like there was a lot of. And then you start thinking, are you going crazy, right? Because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
there by yourself. And then I'm like writing notes in my phone about like what's happening all day. So they moved my husband to the ICU. At this point, I've only talked to that one doctor, the one that told me that my husband was gonna end up in the ICU and failed to give him medication for 12 hours. Um, and basically, when I said, why haven't you given my husband the medication? It's been 12 hours. He goes, I was waiting for you guys to say yes. I'm like, what? Like, my husband told you yes, like 5 minutes
Yeah.
after, like, he talked to me and we called, and okay, whatever. So it's always like the onus on the family, and it was terrible. So my husband gets moved to the
Yeah.
ICU. I'm kind of like, whatever. The next morning, I wake up. It was July 23rd. It was my weekend before my 36th birthday. And I'm pregnant, by the way, for the listeners. I'm a mom of two boys, and I'm pregnant with my third son, which I didn't know was a boy until the day my husband died. It's also pretty incredible. And my husband calls me crying in the morning. I didn't sleep the whole night. Like I was like up doing laundry like at 4 in the morning, like a lunatic, because I couldn't sleep. But then they told me they gave him a sleeping pill that night. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna call because I don't want to like alert. Like maybe he's sleeping and maybe I'm just the one being paranoid. But go through this. Trust your gut, because usually if you're like, because something bad is happening.
Something's going
Well,
on.
my husband calls me at 6 in the morning and he's like, I haven't slept all night. I didn't want to call you because I didn't want to wake you up. And I'm like, well, I've been up all night because I didn't want to wake you up. He's like, sorry, here's one of my children. And he said to me, yeah,
Oh,
what?
I did that.
What?
Oh, right here.
Okay,
Middle
what
finger.
can I help you?
What is that?
He's on his way here.
Where's he? When did he
Alex
get-
is coming by 6.
Where's he going?
Oh, I don't know. They'll be right here.
Mommy, look.
Okay, Rafa, look, I'm on something really important for
Can
work.
I see him?
Yeah, sure. So, that night, I'm telling what happened to Papi. So that night, the next morning, I wake up. I was actually with my 2 kids walking the dogs. I have 2 Great Danes. I'm by myself. We're outside.
I remember you putting this on your story.
Yeah.
I remember this whole thing.
Yeah,
And
I remember this.
they called me and they said to me, "We got to put him on a vent, or he's not gonna live." And in that moment, everything you hear is like if they go on the vent, like they're not coming back, and the
Yeah,
whole thing
yeah.
in the anti-vent. And I'm like,
Mommy.
"What?
Is my dad in the real heaven?
He's in real heaven." Yes,
Yeah.
he is, baby. And I said, "Put him on," because what do you? I said,
Mommy, can I eat my pancakes here?
"Yeah, go get your pancake." I said, I said, "Do I have a choice?" And they said, I'm like, "Can I call you back? Like, let me call like somebody, right, that I can think of." And,
Yeah,
and when
yeah.
you're in these situations, and I guess this is like one tip for listeners, make a list of resources or doctors or people that you know that are on your team that you can
Yeah,
tap
trusted.
into when this starts. Like the minute you think you have COVID,
Something
right?
is
Not
right.
like once you're in the ICU, because you're like critical thinking, or like the
Yeah,
way that
yeah.
you think
You're
is
like in
not
fight or
very
flight.
clear. And once he passed away, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I could have called this person and this." And then it's like, I don't feel guilty, but I'm like, "Damn it, I wish I would have had a list." So I literally have a list in my phone now of people that if God forbid any of us got sick again, that I would call it. This is Danny and Maura.
Hi.
That I would call immediately. Anyways, so he was put on the vent. Yeah, we know them. So
I never met.
no, you'll meet them soon.
Sue
So
and the guy with our kids.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring you my boys
yeah, they have 2 boys.
so they can play crazy with you.
They're crazy too.
They're wild. He's like, I like it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that's my kind of people. So at this point, nobody's communicated with me. My husband's on this vent. It looks like his oxygen levels are increasing. I'm being told that, we just need to get him to this point.
Computer, my dad's.
My computer. And we need to get him to this point. And once we get him to this point, then we can start to wean him off the vent. And whatever. But then I'm like, okay, but he's on this cocktail of sedatives that anybody would have to go to rehab after taking that for
real.
more than 24
Yeah.
hours. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was like meth. I mean, it was like every single, I have the list in my phone. I wish I could recite it to you now, but I have so many notes in my phone. I don't even know what day it is, but it was insane, the cocktail.
Yeah, it's like they induce a coma or something.
Basically. When you're trying to get people off of this, it's like, would you go leave a relative in rehab and not hire somebody to watch them sweat them out of this?
Exactly.
Right? I used to take Adderall. I know what it's like to get off of Adderall. That's just Adderall.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like, these are like real deal heavy duty things. I've taken diet pills. I've smoked cigarettes. Like, I know what it's like to come off of those things. And that's
The
like
sedatives
nothing.
are bad though. The
This
sedatives are
sedative
bad.
is like
Yeah.
a whole other
It's
animal.
physical. It's physical.
Yeah. So my
Mommy,
husband, every time
Mommy, where's Alex?
he's on his way here, baby. You want to go call him? Okay. So my husband,
I talk on here.
no, because it'll block the meeting, but you can go call him outside. Said, they're trying to get him off of all this stuff. And then every time, of
Mom.
course, they're trying to wean him off, he relapses. And then, of course, because I personally think, I'm not shitting on the staff. I think the staff, most of them,
Mommy.
do the very best
Mommy.
that they can with the protocols
Yeah.
that they're
Mommy.
given. I wouldn't want to be on the front
when
lines
was
right
my
now.
dad's open? When was my dad's eyes were open at the hospital?
He's saying that when we would call, and it's true, you could tell he was trying to come off the sedatives. His
Mom.
eyes would like roll back a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I would tell
Mom.
him what?
When was my dad's eyes open at the hospital?
Yeah, when he was trying to come off the sedatives before God took him. Yeah, basically what he's explaining is like when we would try and call sometimes, I knew he could hear us. I knew he was with us. I knew he was fighting with us because we would say, "Do you want us to do this?" And he would nod his
Mom.
head. He would go like that, and
Yeah,
his eyes would roll back. Like he was trying to come out,
Yeah, you're just medicated. You're medicated.
but nobody's there to hold your hand and be with you. And they're doing these rando pseudo FaceTime. It's like not. We all know that physical touch like affects hormone levels, affects neurotransmitters.
Yes.
We know the effect that has on people. And you can't do that. So you're literally watching your loved ones pass. Like that's what it is. And I don't use a more graphic word than my children, but you're watching them go right in front of you. And
Mommy, why
what?
should you're not moving your head?
Okay, because you have syrup. Why don't you wash your hands? So that happens, and then in one of those, like we had some doctors that knew my husband personally that they were like trying to
How
be
can
there
they see us?
because there's a camera. But I think that at one
Mom.
point, Rafa,
Did that computer so
yes,
they can see
the
us?
cameras. So I think at one point what
What are
happened was
cameras?
the
What
other
are
thing is in the
cameras?
ICU. There's doctors. Oh, 1 second, baby.
What are cameras?
They're right here. There's a new doctor every like 48 hours or something like that. So you don't really have anybody seeing your entire case through. You're in the hands of the nurses. The doctors are slammed. They're like, sorry, we haven't called you. We're so busy. I'm like, that's the last thing that an advocate wants.
Yeah, that's what you want to hear. Yeah.
Well, in this process, what we ended up doing, which again is unfortunate because most people don't have this kind of cash laying around, is we had to contract a concierge doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're a concierge doctor, if they have rights to the ICU, they can't call the shots. So this person was basically like, we hired an admin to go in there and explain to us everything that was going on. Call me 3 times a day because if not, nobody would call me. So he was going in and giving us the updates, and he was like, look, the biggest thing your husband has on his side is his age at this point. So hold on, Rafa, please, honey, just give me a break.
I'm still with you.
Okay, so the biggest thing your husband has on his side is age at this point. We've seen 62-year-old guys get off fence and come out and so you're kind of like, okay, we're going
Mommy,
with it.
be quiet, the baby's sleeping.
Shh. So I do have a baby sleeping next to me, but he's cooperating. So anyways,
I'm
what
not gonna let you see
okay,
them with
one
you.
second.
I'm
Let
not
me
gonna
get my
let
nanny
you
to take him because this is out of control.
No, you're
Mama.
fine. You're fine.
I'm not gonna let you see if you be
Okay, you want to go or you want to stay?
if you don't be quiet, I'm gonna block.
Okay. Juana.
Juana eres.
Juana.
Juana eres, Rafa.
Bro,
Take my phone and watch cars.
Oh my gosh, that's Dean. Dean doesn't care. He'll be like,
Screen
no.
time right now.
Oh, screen time, yeah.
Yes.
Have the phone.
Parents who are
I
listening
gladly
or
give it to
watching are
Dean.
definitely like feeling this one. Like,
Oh my gosh, I gladly give it to Dean. Okay.
Llévatelo un momento, una llamada y después.
Mommy,
What?
let me sit with
No,
you.
go with Juana and watch the thing.
No.
Okay, then sit there and watch it, but lower the volume. My kids are gonna be like the ones with like the headphones, like at the restaurant soon.
Oh yeah.
You're like, I'll never
sure.
do that, and then you're like, here's headphones, here's an iPad.
You're like, here you go.
I know.
Please just be quiet.
Anyways, I forgot where I was now. So we hired this concierge doctor, but a concierge doctor is somebody that'll take on your case. And when you're going through all of this, like, now I'm also like calling people all day. Remember, I'm by myself with my 2 Great Danes, my 2 kids. I'm pregnant. Like, it's just a lot.
You still have everything else going on.
Yeah, you're super sleep deprived. You don't know what day is what, and you're calling, all these doctors, and nobody wants to take on your case. Nobody wants to deal with it. Then the last, you don't really want to hire like an intensivist because then you're gonna have your intensivist fighting with the intensivist at the hospital, and the reality is that the intensivists at the hospital are following the hospital protocols and calling the shots. So your intensivist is not going to have a fighting chance. Please get from behind me and lower the volume. So we ended up hiring like a general doctor, which we thought has a lot of our similar viewpoints or ways of looking at the world and ways of looking at COVID. And we felt confident that he was going to advocate for us. And he did until the very end. In all of this, my husband develops blood clots, has a pulmonary embolism, which kind of really started to set him back. Remember, he was vented on July 23rd. He passed away on August 18th. So it was almost 30 days on this vent. Wow. Haven't seen him, haven't been in the hospital. So he got the pulmonary embolism. What else happened to him? Then his organs started to shut down, which was my biggest fear. It's like, you've been on sedatives for this long.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have any human contact. You're like in this room by yourself. I have a lot of stories, but Some of them at this point, like I don't even want to share because I don't even know anymore. I don't even know what's true, what's not true. I think we all try, and when you're in it and you're talking to these nurses, some of them the first thing would ask me was like, "Why wasn't your husband vaccinated?" I'm like, "F you," okay,
Yeah,
because
for real.
to father my kids, I'm pregnant. This is not the conversation that I want to have right now because for all you know, he was. You know what? Like it
No.
that's irrelevant right now. And um we're living in a world that's it's becoming very divided, and
Yes.
you want to have the benefit of the doubt and think that there's like really good people out there and that they're going to love on you and care for you regardless of your viewpoints. But when you live in a situation like this, you realize that that's not the case,
Yeah, it's
that
not.
the world is being brainwashed, people have been really like fear mongered, and it's a very
Yeah, it
very
worked.
scary place to be. And honestly, like if I had the money to build like my own ICU or my own hospital like in my house in the future, like if I won the lotto, that's like one of the things I would invest in would be like
Right. Yeah.
a center where like I could do any type of surgery that I need and I could just bring in the doctor to take care of me. um that and like being sustainable like with my own food like that would be like my two dreams, like
Yeah.
medical and food sustainability like
Well,
100%, so I don't ever have to step foot into one of these places. um we, like I said, we had a lot of hope. One of the doctors tried to stand him up, but then another doctor told me like your husband's not going to make it. So I was just getting like all these mixed signals from all these different doctors.
yeah.
um and then the day before the last day, um they let us in, and I knew that that was it. And they only let us in because the concierge doctor like was like, this lady's pregnant, like you have to let her in. The day my husband was intubated, they called me with the sex of my baby. And we always found out together. You know, the first baby we did the gender reveal cheesy thing, and then
Right.
not that cheesy. If that's your thing, that's fine. But the second
Right.
baby, I
Right.
was like, tell me right now over the phone.
Yeah. Tell me right now on the phone.
So the third baby, I was dying to know. You know, it was our last one. It was our miracle baby. Not, I wouldn't say miracle. Like I'd had, I'm easily pregnant, but when I breastfeed, I don't ovulate, and I go through all these missions, and it takes me like a year and a half between each kid to get pregnant, and I had to do acupuncture and whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you
It really
telling me
was a
that.
miracle because it was one time that we tried and it worked. Um, and I remember, um, well, so they told me that the sex that day, they called me to tell me, and I said, look, I don't want to know because my husband's gonna come home and I'm gonna tell him. And every day he was there, my grandmother, who's 88, and she's like my mom, she would tell me, just tell him because that's gonna give him like excitement to come home. And I'm like, no, he's gonna come home. And then when I talked to the concierge doctor, I said to him, you're gonna give me a big gender reveal in the hospital, right? Like we're gonna do something really over the top and tacky. Like we're gonna put the
Yeah.
balloons all over the hospital. Like I was like, I'm gonna spend $1 million doing a gender reveal at the hospital if he makes it out.
Yeah.
He's like, we got you. And he was on the vent, and then they finally did a trach. So when they did the trach, I thought that because he was having such a hard time get off the sedatives, because he was like strapped in this with this tube down his throat, I thought maybe with the trach, he's not even gonna know that happened because it's gonna happen while he's asleep. That he's gonna wake up and he's not gonna be trapped with stuff all over his face, and it's gonna be easier for him to come off the sedatives. He never made it. After the trach, he passed away 2 days later. Um, I don't know if it was 2 days later. I could be lying. Maybe it was 3, but it was a few days.
Closely after.
Yeah. Um. So they let us in, and then that night I knew that it was it. And it was funny because I knew it was it like 10 days before. I remember sitting on the couch watching a movie with my dad one night and just bursting into tears. And if you're a believer in God and you're a spiritual person and you have connections to your loved ones on a deeper level, and you have your faith, you can almost feel like a person's spirit leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was FaceTiming with my husband that night, and he wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Um, so I had, I guess, like these 30 days to prepare, right? Or like these 28 days to prepare. When that night, like I said, they let the family in that morning for like 20 minutes. And then that night I knew, and the next morning I said, look, I went in with his family, but I'm his wife. Like I have a few things I want to tell him, like by myself, you know. So they let me in, and he passed away 20 minutes after I left.
Wow.
When I was by his bedside, you know, the last things you want to tell your spouse, like, thank you. Thank you for being an awesome dad. Thank you for being an awesome husband. Thank you for, sorry for ever fault. Our marriage is perfect. And God knows we had our
Of
challenges.
course.
And then I called the OBGYN and I said, tell me the sex of the baby right now. They're like, ma'am, can you please hold? I have time. And they said, it's a boy. And we had picked out the name Angelo, which is so crazy because it's an angel. And that'll be his name. And we hadn't picked out a middle name. I'm not big on middle names. He's big on middle names. So his middle name will be Christopher after my husband. 1 second. Rafa, please lower the volume. Lower the volume. Lower the volume. The YouTube is super loud. Real life, right? I cry, I have to yell at kids in between, and it's the whole thing. So I left, and that's it. And I think, you know, the takeaways from this, and you know, I think podcasts should be heartfelt, you know, real stories. People love to hear that, but also takeaways. Have your list. COVID isn't a joke. It's also not something that you shouldn't lose sleep
Right.
about at night. I admit there was times I'd be like, "Ay, all these people washing their hands all the time. You're not gonna have any immunity." Da, 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 da. I wash my hands a little bit more than usual now, but I also have faith in my immune system. My husband, I don't know what happened in the hospital. I don't know if he could have been saved. But if I look at it objectively, right, my husband used to have inflammation. He had gout. I'm not saying he had pre-existing conditions because I have a cousin, pounds, a smoker, was on the vent for 20 days and got off it at a bar drinking right now. So I, I don't know. To me, it was more of like a medical something happened there. But take care of yourself. You know, you keep your inflammation down. You know, a lot of your followers are big on that, right? Maybe some of them are not, but that's
Yeah.
serious. I think that's important. I think people take advantage of that, and we don't do that. Have a list of people that you truly can count on, rely on. Don't run to the hospital because the hospital's protocol is go home and lock yourself in a room for 14 days and come back if you're dying. At which point you're gonna have to follow my protocol and you might die.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that sometimes these bigger hospitals that have all the shining stars
Yeah.
are pushing more of these clinical trial drugs and people aren't making it out. And I've heard that in these smaller hospitals where they don't have much, people are making it out. So there's something to be said about that. Again, this is all he said, she said, but I'm involved in a lot of stories and a lot of groups now. So it's kind of mind boggling to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So try not to go to the hospital unless you have to. You need to try alternative treatments at home. Early intervention is
Early.
100%. So those are the two things. And then if you're married or if you're not, or if you have children, like don't wait to write your will tomorrow. Write your will today
Yeah.
because you're gonna deal with a lot of shit if you
Yeah.
don't. You have to hire a probate attorney.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have
Yeah,
life
this is
Government
the
always wants to take
the
the
aftermath stuff that
they
people
wanna
don't
take your
talk about.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's stuck in probate court for who knows how long.
Who knows? And that's hard.
Yeah.
Get life insurance if you can afford to go to Starbucks a few times a month, or if you can afford to go out to eat, buy a policy, even if it's a term policy. It could happen to you. And make sure that all of that is like buttoned up and organized. I wrote a will last week, and I was I'm mad that I didn't do it like the week after he passed away because I'm signing it tomorrow on Wednesday for my kids because now I'm by myself, you know. And after it does happen, you need to have a good support system. I'm in Sarasota right now. I'm probably going back home to Miami, which is whatever. It's not. I don't think my in-laws are very happy about it. But at the end of the day, you need to have a good support system around you. And we all grieve differently. I'm a doer, so I'm like, I push things under sometimes. I'm like, okay, tomorrow that's it. Da, da, da. But you know, you
Yeah.
gotta let yourself feel the pain, and for me it's my faith. I have
Yeah.
full faith in God, and I know that my husband is with me 1000%. I've been blessed. God in so much meant through my GoFundMe alone has given me the peace of mind where while my probate kicks in, right, I have
Yeah.
6 to 9 months to like
Yeah.
be at peace with my children. Um, when you go through something like this and you are open on social, I was kind of quiet and then I was open, and I did get some nasty people tell me like if your husband would have gotten it, he would have lived and whatever.
Yeah. People are
There's
always
a
gonna be
campaign
nasty.
going on about me on Facebook, and I'm not even like that famous. I have like 2,000 followers. I don't even know what's going on. But there was like this campaign going on, like vote if you think this girl needs to get a GoFundMe. Look, she lived this lavish life with her husband, and I'm like, wow,
Oh my
there's some very
gosh.
cool people in the
Wow.
world. Like if he would have
People
gotten
are,
it,
yeah,
if he would have
trolls
gotten
are
the
trolls.
vaccine, she wouldn't have died. He wouldn't have died, and like you wouldn't need to be donating to her GoFundMe, like something
That's
ridiculous.
disgusting. There's a
Yeah.
special place in hell for
Yeah,
people
yeah.
like that.
But
That's
people
okay.
that people are
God
gonna,
is just.
those are just trolls. That's what they do for a living.
Yeah. So there's stuff like that it's sometimes it
Yeah.
just makes you want to go into a cave.
Yeah.
And what gives me strength is my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never think you're gonna when you like think of your life as a little girl, you don't think, oh, I'm gonna be like a 35-year-old widow with 3 kids.
Yeah.
Um but I always look at the silver lining, and I think like I like to look at it like, God, thank you. I have a second shot at life.
Yeah.
I have so much to live for. And like my husband, I was like in a weird place when we met, and he lifted me up. He made me believe in myself again. I was in an abusive relationship before, and I was in. My mom had like turbulent relationships growing up, so like this relationship for me was like it was like a fast track course. We were only together for 5 years, but
Yeah.
we did more in 5 years than most people do in like 25 years. Because I'm very intense, and so was he. So it was like a lot of things we did. Got married, we had kids, we bought houses, we moved, like
Yeah.
and I think it don't go to sleep upset with your partner. Um, it's not worth it. I don't have any guilt in my relationship because we would fight, and then like an hour later, I'd be like, "Come on, pay attention to me. What's wrong with you? Get over it." Like, I mean, like he
Yeah.
kind of
Me,
just,
I'm like, stop. I'm like, that's it. It's over.
And I'm the one
I'm
that's
not
like,
at you
yeah.
still. Get over
I'm
it.
like, are you gonna keep being mad? I'm like, how much longer? Tell me so I can put a timer.
Stop being mad because I don't like when people are mad at me. Um, and and that's it. And you just enjoy your life as much as possible. And like I said, my kids, I'm 36. I hope that I can eventually. My kids ask me for a dad. Then there's also like the therapy side of it, right? Like I have to
Yeah.
be the strong one for my kids, but they also
Right.
have to
Right.
see me cry. But I also can't be like popping Xanax all day because I can't cope with
Exactly.
life. Like I need to get out
Right.
and I need to exercise
Right.
and
You gotta live
um
your life.
yeah, I need to do things. So and I need to be a good example for them because I never want my kids to use this as a crutch in their life. Like, oh, my dad
Yeah.
died, so I'm gonna drug addict. Oh, my dad died, so I'm gonna join a gang. Oh, my dad died, so I'm gonna binge eat all day. Like, no, I want my kids to know
Yeah.
that they are resilient, that they're with God, and they're gonna be good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that when my kids ask me like every day, they're like, "Could you find a new dad?" I'm like, okay, it's not that easy. They're not like on Instacart where I can like pick the one that I want out.
Ideal.
Rafa will say like, "Oh, well, if I don't like them, you just get rid of them, right?" I'm like, "Yep, that easy. You just pop them back."
Just
Yeah.
put them right back
I
where they
love
came
it.
from.
I love
Oh
the
my
honesty.
gosh.
But I want to find
Natural
that
life.
person eventually for my kids, and people might be like, "Oh my god, your husband just died 3 days, 45 days ago. You're already talking about a new husband." I'm not talking about a new husband. But I'm saying
No.
like that's why I say like I know God is with me and He's gonna give me a second chance at life because my boys do deserve a role model, whether it's through my
Right.
father, through the community. Like
Right.
so, I know my husband is with me, and I'm shown every day that he's with me.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say you feel people more when they're dead than when they're alive, and I never understood that until now. I
Yes.
mean, I've been blessed beyond measure, beyond measure, in so many ways. Love, money, like different types of blessings that I've received that have allowed me to keep myself together. Um,
Stephanie, the there was like about halfway through where you were like outside of the hospital, straight up picketing. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What was that all about?
There was one of the Florida frontline doctors. Right now, I forgot her name. She was like blacklisted from
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
New York Times. There was like this whole saga. Apparently, one of the people that worked, his father was hospitalized for ketoacidosis, ends up getting COVID, whatever, is in ICU.
Oh, I think we know the story. Is this the patient advocate guy?
No, no, that's a different
Oh,
story.
okay, okay.
There's a lot of
That's the
stories
guy
in this
with the
hospital.
lung. That's the guy with the was the doctor with the lung patient. That was a different story.
Yeah, that was the bacterial pneumonia that they missed like several times.
Yeah, that was out of control. Um, there was this, yeah, so her dad gets, and then because she's worked with Florida Frontline, which if you don't know, you should definitely register with Florida Frontline doctors. They're an amazing resource for early intervention. Unfortunately, once you go into the hospital, their protocols are usually too late because most hospitals aren't offering them. So that's why I say, like, do that research, keep their like guidebook in your phone, and find doctors now that you could tap into for
Yeah.
those um, prescriptions, and learn about it and learn how to dose yourself before this happens to you. It's like preparing for a hurricane. It's really like
Yeah.
early, when you get a flu, there's something to take. When you get a headache, there's something to take, and so just become familiar with this before it happens to you. Because if you go into a hospital, they're not going to give you these tools.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this lady worked for this famous doctor, and her dad goes in for ketoacidosis, ends up getting COVID. She's calling the hospital, demanding, writing attorneys with like the top attorneys in healthcare this protocol for my father, and they're not bending. Like there's something happening there. They wouldn't give him any of it. Anyways, they let her in. Her dad dies the next day. So this protest was led by her. So we connected. I shared my story, and I went with my kid, and there was a bunch of people
Yeah.
protesting, and it was crazy though because she was making like this big stink and coming out public, and they let her in that night, and her dad died the next morning. And I wanted to like tell my story, but then when her dad died, I was like, oh my god, I don't want to say anything and it's so sick that this would cross my mind. But this is
Yeah.
when I tell you, like, you want to believe there's good and bad, but I'm like, did they kill him? Like, it crossed my mind,
Yeah.
and it's sad that even
So you have
crossed
that thought.
my
I know.
mind, you know?
You know me.
Yeah.
You know me. I'm just like no creo en nadie.
I know.
Yeah, I don't believe in anything anymore or anyone, and this really changes you. This situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe anything. I
But
sometimes I can't
Stephanie,
even be on social media because I don't
No, no, no,
believe.
I can't. Yeah, yeah,
you
you
know
can't.
what though, Stephanie? Honestly, like I see it this way. I'd rather I'd rather know because then I'm prepared. And it's like, because for example, like in China, you go to China, everybody knows they're under tyranny. They kind of know it. That these are the rules. And you talk to a Chinese person, they come here and they're like, it's weird. You guys actually pay attention to the news,
Yeah.
and
Like they
and
know it's
we know it's
propaganda.
fake. We know it's fake. We know that we're in tyranny. But here you have
Yeah,
this
like
whole
you think
thing
it's
where
real.
you think you're free and you think that things are a certain way. I think ignorance is death. It's not bliss. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
To
Yeah, it's
not
opposite.
know.
Yeah. To know more.
And that's a
Yeah.
sad thing that so many people don't know. But that's why,
No.
having you here, and
Yeah.
obviously the way God works, we never understand. But like this is part of your purpose here, to do that, to talk about that.
Yeah, over time, I think once I get my life in order, I mean, with you guys, it's like family. I can talk to you guys, and I know it's like a
Yeah,
Yeah.
formal
Yeah.
podcast, but it just feels like family. It's
Yeah.
of
easy.
course, it's
I'd
true.
like to formalize my story and formalize my thoughts and formalize. I have all the notes of like what happened in the hospital because there's
Yeah.
some things that you look at and you're just like, damn, this doesn't make sense, and I'm not even a doctor. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think early intervention and educating yourself, like if you're preparing for a hurricane, like if you're preparing for an exam, like it's no joke. And if I have one regret, it's that. Because I think it's very easy when I say we're on this side, and I say that because I'm assuming most followers of this podcast are on this side where we're kind of like, F them, my immune system is happened to me, and
Yeah.
that I was
Yeah.
so far down that side that I wasn't prepared for what if it did happen to me? What if my body
Yeah.
didn't respond the way my body responded? It would respond the way my husband's body started to respond.
Right.
Kind of ignorant, right, of me. So you can't be all the way there either. So I say
Yeah, I
like there's
agree.
always
I
that
agree.
somewhere in the middle. Like it is real. It
Yeah, but
might
just be
kill you.
prepared.
You gotta be prepared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to be
You should
prepared.
sleep peacefully every night, but be prepared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
And that's the if I have to say that there's anything that like eats at me sometimes is that I was walking around like if COVID was like like getting lice or I don't know. I don't even know the
Yeah.
last time I had lice, but it was like something so
Yeah,
simple, like
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
dry skin, you put cream on and you keep going.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Not. And
yeah,
the thing is, I think again, I say a lot of I think or I heard, but I'm not a doctor. I haven't read enough, but if you have common sense, I'm starting to think it's genetic because I know too many people with terrible health conditions that have walked out
Me,
like
same.
and then yeah, the opposite. It's like
around.
random.
And then you have people like my husband who maybe could have lost 20 pounds. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
but it's not like he was like super unhealthy without
yeah.
like health
And
problems.
nothing. We eat at home every day. Like you guys know, I buy grass fed and I'm on to my beef and my
Yeah,
milk and whatever.
yeah,
But it was kind of crazy. So
That's the same argument, Stephanie, that I tell people with the product that they're offering everybody, and they're threatening them, with all this stuff, because even if you had all the AI in the world, you wouldn't be able to run every single permutation of every single combination of mutations and what that means to each person.
exactly.
And because
yeah,
the spike protein is pretty much what I told her the other day, what has been spread from the beginning.
yeah.
It's
The
not
spike protein.
it's not this thing that they're calling a virus and they make a little cute picture of it. If you were to
Right.
ask them to show you a picture, it would never look like that. It's not even color. There's nothing.
Yeah,
But there's something about that spike protein that when it hits certain genes, it just turns things
yeah,
on. And remember, like a lot of people don't even know their genes, number one.
exactly.
Number two, take it a step further. If you don't know what your genes are, you wouldn't know that if your body was subjected to any type of insult, it could be a virus, it could even be a traumatic experience, that epigenetically it would turn that gene on that you didn't
Yeah,
even know about. And all of a sudden, this is information that none of us know, you know?
Yep.
And so it's the same thing with both. Like you're right about it. Like, the early prevention and all that. Obviously, it's to call what they're offering an inoculation, which is really what's when you get inoculated, it's like, okay, I got that taken care of.
yeah,
That's not it.
yeah. You still get it.
You still have the same
And I
amount of,
know plenty of people that have dropped dead from that product.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
I know some people
Not
personally. I
like,
had to
oh, I
delete some
know because
phone
I read
numbers.
on Facebook. No, like I know,
No,
I know.
I had to
yeah,
delete phone numbers from my phone because I'm just like, I don't want to see the phone number anymore.
yeah, yeah.
From that. So
And autoimmune issues and a whole other stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I
wild
it's
out
funny. I
there.
had my genes. I finally took the plunge and I worked with a doctor out in Arizona. Um, which I used to think was kind of wacky, but now I am like, I always loved her, but she was a little out there for me. But now
Yeah,
I like obsessed with her after this. I'm like, she's right about everything.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, because she's
yeah,
so over the top. But then it's like,
right,
where's the
exactly.
lie? Where's the lie?
where's the lie?
And it's funny because I learned even a lot about myself that I didn't even know. And it's like
Yeah,
sometimes it's so simple, like your health issues could be so easily
yeah,
dissected. I was having like chronic pain in my feet early on in pregnancy, and I couldn't even wear shoes anymore because my feet would like it's horrible what was happening in my feet, and it was basically like this crazy histamine intolerance. I wasn't methylating B vitamins, like it was like this
yes. It's something random.
things that was happening to me that I was like, oh my god, I thought I was just getting like that. This just happened when you turn 30, like you can't wear heels anymore.
I know, and it turns out to be something simple.
And it turns out to be something else. And here I am thinking I have like a bunch of vitamin G. I'm super healthy, and my levels are like I don't have vitamin G basically, and my
Yeah,
body doesn't like optimize it, so I have to take the other one. It's just so crazy. You think you're healthy, but you're not, and you
yeah,
don't. You have to get to know your DNA, your genes, your body, and treat it accordingly. That's why everything's so specific. That these blanket protocols they don't work. They don't work.
yeah. They don't.
It's like if they don't
That's
work for
why
weight
You
loss
have
and
to
they
be
don't work
healthy.
for cancer and they don't work for this, why the heck would they work for COVID? Like, come on, like
Exactly.
Yeah.
use common
Exactly.
sense a little bit. Let's use common sense.
People should, I think one of the biggest takeaways, is that people need to take care of their health. Like you can't think about it. Now that we know what we know, why would I completely trust a stranger and not know anything about what's going on? I need to know what's going on. I need to know why things are happening.
Yeah.
I need to have some sort of understanding so that I can defend myself. Unfortunately, that's really the it's not even about, it's really to defend yourself, to be able to,
Absolutely.
because you know you get told, because it's like, we're here, we got the letters behind our name, sit down and shut up, charge.
Yeah.
The older generation is like, yeah, yeah, you're in charge, you know, but us, we've
Yeah.
seen
My
so much, we've
grandmother,
seen
if they tell her to
They
like
love
jump
it.
off a bridge to like fix her
No, they
leg,
love the doctor.
same.
No, they love
she'll
the
jump off
doctors.
the bridge with a broken leg just to fix the leg, which would be like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. She always
Our
says it's like
parents
if it's
and grandparents, they
yeah,
love their doctors. That's like
yeah,
to them, eso
the God, yeah,
olvídate. Que el
Untouchable,
doctor dijo.
untouchable, untouchable. Yeah, untouchable
yeah,
authority, and we're the opposite. We don't really think that most authority is even legitimate. So,
I know.
but okay, this was good. I can't. I'm so happy
A lot
we
of
got
people
through
were
it.
tuning in. A lot of people are, commenting. Um, yeah, just thank you for coming on
As-
and I know it's hard to talk about and just being vulnerable and sharing your story because it does help others when they hear it. Either people that maybe went through the same thing that they know like they're not alone,
exactly.
and also people who knows like maybe this they you have to be prepared. Like the early intervention thing, like yeah, like people need to know this stuff.
Yeah, and it's not like early intervention, like read one thing and you think you know, like I did. I was like, oh, if everybody
Yeah.
just takes ivermectin, they'll be fine. Like I thought that I knew. Like, no, for real, like dig a little bit, become educated. Florida Frontline has like this whole PDF on like
Yes.
early intervention protocols, but don't think that you could walk into that hospital with that PDF and they're gonna do that for you. They're not.
Exactly. They're not exactly. Yeah.
Find the people that will do it while you have the time. I mean,
Right.
don't go crazy, like don't lose it, but be prepared. You know what I mean? And when you have the people, share it with your family. Like become that resource because we are our own advocates.
Yeah.
And had I been able to do that, I mean, I don't put this on myself.
Of course.
Yeah, I could have saved them. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so crazy though with everything going on. Like that's just the lack of control too. Like they're not letting the families in. And that should just be something that is taken into account, especially that you had just had COVID. Like you get to make that choice for yourself. I mean, it was pretty much 100% guaranteed you were not going to get the virus. So just understanding those precautions, you guys, to take that early intervention so that you can maybe not end up in the hospital,
and
you know?
understand AMA. Understand that you have the right to go against medical
Yeah,
advice,
yeah.
because that's all it is. You're not in prison.
Yeah,
You
it's
know, it's
advice.
against medical advice. So like, you know, you can say, yeah, no, I appreciate that and everything, but I'm just gonna go ahead and go home against medical advice. So
Yeah,
they
yeah,
get
Yeah.
pissed off. They're gonna try to convince you otherwise because it's extra work for them. It's extra paperwork. It's the pain
Yeah.
in the butt.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, you are still a sovereign individual, and you can decide.
To
You
leave.
know,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell everybody, I know there's like a lot of fear going around now with kids. I don't know whether I had the variant or what I had because I don't even believe in all that stuff anymore. There's 48,000 variants out there, but yet they're mixing people in the same room, so I don't believe
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
But if I did have this variant, then my kids had it.
Right.
They have super high antibodies, so they were asymptomatic as well. So
Yeah.
this
The
is where I
kids
go
don't get
back
it.
to genetics. You know, one of my kids had a little bit of diarrhea that week, but was not fussy, was not
Yeah.
tired, was not. So, you know, and if
Yeah.
you haven't gotten an antibody test, go get one. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe
Yeah.
heard some are inaccurate, but it's kind of good to know, like, do I have the immunity for this or not? Because if you don't,
Yeah.
then you need to be even more prepared. If you have immunity for it,
Exactly.
then you're like, damn, my body got this thing and tackled it and
Yeah.
sent it to hell. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I did. But if you don't, then you need to be more prepared because if you got it and you couldn't fight it, then you need to have that toolkit.
Well, Stephanie, the other thing I want to mention with that is, number one, if you've had it and you have antibodies, then you know that you shouldn't be taking anything that they offer, because there's like a three times higher,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
3 times higher risk that you're gonna have. Light is done right now.
Yeah, my ring
Three
light is
times higher risk that you're gonna get bad effects. And another reason why you should get your antibodies tested is because a law professor in George Mason just won a big case against the university. They were trying to get him,
Yeah.
they were trying to force him, and he said, no, my natural immunity is better than what this product is providing. and he argued it in court, and they basically
He won.
backed down.
Wow.
So yet another reason to get tested for antibodies. Now again, antibodies are not the end all be all, because there's people that they have had the virus, whether it was a very small viral load or
Then they
they
get it
just have,
twice.
if you have a really strong immune system and a lot of T cells, they can kill the virus without having to mount an antibody response. So understand that just because you don't have antibodies, but you have every indication that you fought the virus and beat it, don't go and run out and take something just because you think, because chances are you probably just have a really strong immune system,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Exactly.
you
That's awesome.
not you're not having antibodies because you have your T cells killed
Right,
it.
right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
All very good points.
Yeah.
Stephanie, though, we have to do this. I know that you're local, but we want you to promote anything that you're doing, and I know that you're doing something, but I want to give you an opportunity if you want to promote it.
Of course, and we'll put it on the show notes. We're also going to put you guys, there is a GoFundMe for Stephanie because that's the reality, you guys. She had left her job, months ago to help her husband, who was very, very talented.
That's funny, and
Talented.
he for 5 years I was the breadwinner. I supported him, and I was like, when he was in the hospital, I'd be like, "Hey man, like come home. Like I only got 4 months of this like housewife life. Like let's go. Like I worked too hard for this,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate, but that's what happened. So yeah, I quit my job 6 months ago. I'm literally living like every woman's worst nightmare, like
Yeah, yeah.
bananas.
It's
So
wild, guys. So if you can and you feel called to give, then we'll put the link in the show notes.
We're putting it
And
for sure.
Stephanie does have, if you are local in Sarasota, she does have a business. If you want to tell them a little bit about your
yeah, I
business,
have
which
in
I
Sarasota.
actually want one of those. Every time I see them, I'm like, I need that.
We make pavlovas. It's called La Pavlova. You guys can tag the Instagram
Yeah, I'll
or
tag it.
on the show notes. Basically, like a straw. It's a meringue with whipped cream, dulce de leche. It's not keto. It's not sugar free. It's just
No,
all
it's just pretty, and it's
100%
pretty.
natural, like in the sense of I don't use preservatives or fillers or whatever. And it's strawberries on top. It's pretty delicious and it's beautiful. And I also have a project that I'm trying to kick off again now. It's called Happier.
Yeah,
You guys know the
happier.
Instagram of
Hmm.
that, where it's like a platform for storytelling and have my own story to share now. We all
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
story. So you guys can look out for that because that's something that I'm gonna try and kick off, and I hope to relaunch and monetize and make a business, so that I can provide for me to go work a 9 to 5 with 3 kids.
3 boys, guys. Yeah, especially
Three
with the way
boys.
things are in schools and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
She's gonna want
So
to be home. So,
thank you so
Thank you,
much.
my friend.
thank you
We
so much,
love you
my
so
friend, for
much,
taking
for
the
real.
time. I see the baby's up.
Yeah,
The wildness.
the rice cooker just turned off. People probably just got to my front door. It's the madness of my
No,
house.
I know. Well,
So
we'll let you go. Thank you so
Yeah.
much again for coming on. There's a ton of comments in the chat too. A bunch of people were tuning in. So
Well,
I know
Stephanie,
there's a
just
lot of
stay on
people
for
out there
one
that support
second.
you.
Yeah, stay on for 1 second when we stop.
Oh yeah,
And
to
but
finish the
seriously, yeah,
recording.
thank you.
thank you.